I'm back at reviewing weird fiction books.
John Hornor Jacobs has a new book out, The Night That Finds Us All. I was expecting it, I was anticipating it, because I'm an avid reader of weird fiction and literary weird horror, because it teaches you a lot of things about survival and the whole philosophy of survival in the world of species. So we're going to talk about this, but first about John Hornor Jacobs. If you're new to this writer, I highly recommend him. He's got some books published in the course of like 10 years. So the first book that I read of him was The Lush and Seething Hell. It's an incredible, poetic, weird horror thriller mixed with the Americana, with the blues culture, with music. But what is very prominent about John Hornor Jacobs is that being unmistakably American writer, because you will find some of the tropes that he's using are pretty American. Like, for instance, all American writers, aside from very few ones, all American writers of horror and science fiction and mystery, they like the physical aspect, like the physicality versus supernatural. It's like in American movies, even if the character is up against some supernatural stuff, the ultimate, resolution comes through physical altercation. So his first book that was published is The Southern Gods. And this book, which is continued in The Lush and Seething Hell, which was the first book that I read of John Hornor Jacobs. And both of these books are spellbinding. They are very rich soup of Americana, of the mystery, of kind of a cosmic horror, because that's legitimately cosmic horror, all of his books. What it means, cosmic horror? It means that in all of these books, him and other cosmic horror writers are exploring the topic of human species being not the apex predator that human species believe themselves to be, but actually existing in a vast world and universe of all kinds of creatures. And we are far from being the apex predator in this world. It's an illusion. So that's what cosmic horror as a genre reminding us of. It's reminding us that we are not, most probably, not the apex predator in this world. It's an illusion. We might be an apex predator in what we see, like the species, the animals that we can perceive, but in the larger scene, in the larger space of things, we are not even somewhere in the middle. That's the message of cosmic horror as a genre. It is also an exploration in mimicry. Mimicry is one of the survival mechanisms, and mimicry brings us to the topic of food chain. In the food chain, there's always a predator and his food base or prey. And there's also always the mimicry. Like predators use mimicry against to trick the food base, and the food base uses the mimicry to avoid the predator. So that's the game, right? And so in a lot of books, cosmic horror writers explore how other forces that we are not registering with our usual senses, but they still exist. Other creatures, or the whole populations of creatures, are actually preying on humans. So while this very idea is so discomforting to us naturally that most people just block this very thinking from themselves, that's why so much time, like whenever somebody's talking about maybe humans are indeed controlled by some higher species, but they are not visible to they're not registered by our regular senses, and it was always dismissed as a conspiracy theory among many other things that come to surface now, as far from being a theory. So, at this moment, which is a great moment to read weird fiction and cosmic horror in particular, because that seems to be the theme. It's not pronounced yet. In a public discussion, the predator is usually some country, right? Because sides in all kinds of conflicts that are going on, they're just naming names of countries. Oh, this country is an evil country. Oh, no, that one is an evil country, and we're fighting against evil. While all of them are actually perpetrating incredible evil to people, to living species, to warm-blooded primates. So now is a great time to be a cosmic horror reader. So in the books of John Hornor Jacobs, that's the kind of theme. But there's also a trilogy of not cosmic horror. Well, there are some elements of it, but it's not cosmic horror. And I'm talking about the Hardscrabble trilogy, The Incorruptibles, which is a standalone series. It's a trilogy, 3 novels, super big, super rich in adventure and they're basically adventure novels, like classic adventure novels with some modern twists. The twist is that he's exploring sort of a Roman Empire, alternative history, Roman Empire, and of course he's exploring some of the resources that this world might be living off, and he's using demonology, like demons and supernatural entities, but people have somehow learned to harness them. And so it's an allegory of how we use oil, fossil fuels that have been laying under the ground, deep in the crust for millennia, for millions of years. Now we're using them for transportation to drive our vehicles, but we're also paying the price, right? So we're sort of unleashing some stuff that laid dormant under the crust. And now when we are unleashing this, we kind of bring all that comes with it on the surface, which is also quite an enemy for hot-blooded, warm-blooded animals. And because we know from the lore, from folklore, that demons are negative towards people. And so in this trilogy, they're using actual demons to power their engines. So they kind of bind the demons with silverware and all kinds of intricate inscriptions. And that is the kind of protection. So they actually have engines that drive their boats, that drive their vehicles. But those engines are not run by oil and fossil fuels, but actual demons. So that kind of interesting play on Roman Empire and kind of cosmic horror energy system builds a very interesting trilogy of adventure. So that is highly recommended. It's a very cool series of books. But let's go back to the newest book, The Night That Finds Us All, and which is, for readers of cosmic horror, another book which has a similar title, which is The Beautiful Thing That Awaits Us All by Laird Barron, one of my absolute favorite writers. That's a master of prose. And actually, these two books, now, for me at least, they are the two best examples of cosmic horror. Adventure and cosmic horror. Although this Laird Barron's book, it's a collection of stories and novellas. This one is the John Hornor Jacobs is a novel. So, as I said, it's unmistakably American cosmic horror, because the physicality of coming into contact with the supernatural. Anyway, American writers are firm believers in the capacity of humans to just do physical damage, and that resolves a lot of even supernatural conflicts, which is the one thing maybe that I find a bit too American about this novel. quite, funny. Laird Barron doesn't have that kind of attitude because he's from the snowy regions of Alaska. He grew up in a brutal, unforgiving nature. He knows for like it's in his blood, it's in his DNA. He does not trust too much in the capability of humans to deal with the supernatural just by, physical contact and physical combat. In Laird Barron's books, the supernatural is way, way overpowering. And, all of the efforts of humans to actually fight it are puny. They are not laughable, they're tragic in all the inescapability, inevitability of supernatural dominating the humans. John Hornor Jacobs is somewhere on the same kind of vein, but he still believes that humans and their blunt physicality can, pack a punch against the supernatural. Other than that, the book is perfect. It's a perfect adventure novel. It's unlike his previous books. It's about the seafaring adventure, and in the afterword, he describes that he basically made a research. He took a long journey as part of the flotilla, and he lists the people who help him, no pun intended, but learn the ropes of seafaring and sailing in the big waters. And so he uses that knowledge because the book has a lot of seafaring terminology. I didn't even bother to learn to look it up in dictionaries. I looked up some of it, and it's not preventing you. If you don't look up the seafaring terminology, it doesn't prevent you from enjoying the novel because there's still so much food for your imagination. Which is basically why I love reading so much more than films, because reading engages your imagination, the best graphical engine ever created. You can never beat what the writer programs you to create in your imagination with some movies, other than maybe a few examples where it's done successfully. But this book is very thick in atmosphere, and like in the previous cosmic horror books by John Hornor Jacobs, it pulls you in immediately. Like from 10% into the book, I was thinking about it. I was walking in my day, and I was thinking about the book, and I was thinking about the plot. That's the mark of a great writer. So I recommend this book a lot. Just go and buy it and read it. You will enjoy the hell out of it. I'm not going to give you any spoilers because it's not worth it. You have to read it. That's all I'm saying. So, peace out.